welcome back. Let's get into another video. I have been wanting to make confidence boosting or like self-love, self-image content for a while. And I have been, at least on TikTok and Substack, for a good amount of time. But I feel like it's as I've been reflecting on it and wanting to see I was really thinking about doing some sort of like self-love fundamentals series or something here on YouTube. I was really at a loss. I wasn't quite sure what to do, and everything I kept thinking I wanted to say, I was like, I don't know if people would mess with this, because my approach to the vast majority of like self-love, empowerment, confidence boosting content is that it's all kind of missing the mark. I think that a lot of it, and I know that's bold, and I'm not even saying this as like a pitch. I feel like people do that sometimes where they're like, here's the problem with modern whatever, and then like just trying to sell whatever it is that they have. I'm not like even trying to do that. It's just that obviously pretty much at the root of everything I do, especially my content and my any content that I'm making that's trying to like help people in a very explicit way, know something, do something, apply a certain philosophy to their life. It's all like rooted in my feminism. And I have spoken pretty extensively about my disdain for liberal feminism, for a lot of the traditional feminist ideas. I would say the vast majority of feminist concepts that have been accepted hook, line, and sinker by our broader society are feminist ideas that I am quite critical of. Maybe that is a series within itself, but beside the point. That has definitely played a role in the way that we talk about like body image stuff or self-love stuff or empowerment stuff, is that's really all centered around this notion of like choice. Choice feminism has really like sunk its teeth into everyone, and it really it's pushed this idea that if a woman makes a decision, then what she has made is inherently feminist and inherently empowering, even if it is a decision coming from a place of insecurity, even if it's a decision coming from a place of a lack of self-worth, otherwise known as insecurity. But even if it's just not a productive choice towards her freedom, towards her well-being, it doesn't matter because she made the choice, right? And we don't tend to take choices into context. That tends to be something people don't really like to do. And so there's that idea that's definitely prevailed. It's really frustrating. That I think kind of goes back to like our liberal feminist concepts, which I guess is like partially something that I wanted to like push up against, because I've been very critical of like kind of this idea that people engage in beauty practices for themselves, that people like get plastic surgery for themselves, that people wear makeup for themselves, people lose weight for themselves, that people kind of like, and the one thing I love about YouTube is I feel like you deal with less bean soup comments because people kind of have to sit and listen to you. So I'm aware that there are people who are, legitimately overweight, and it is like damaging their health in a significant manner, and then they have to kind of lose weight for reasons that are beyond aesthetics. So that's not what I'm talking about, or gender affirming care, or like people who have went through some sort of accident and have to get like reconstructive plastic surgery. That is not what I'm talking about. We're talking about people who have otherwise healthy bodies, did not need to get any sort of procedure or whatever done, and then like pretty much you can only chalk up an engagement in these beauty practices to being solely rooted in like aesthetic reasons. I have said before that I believe that these practices are coming from a place of insecurity, and that there's kind of this idea that like, oh, I'm doing this for myself, is quite shallow, and I get a lot of people who don't like that sentiment. They really don't like that angle at all, and I think there's this idea that if you kind of like insinuate that anything a woman does is coming from a place of insecurity, then like you've kind of like insulted her in some way, which is like not what I'm doing. I've been very open about things I've done out of insecurity. I used to be bald. What month is this? June? Yeah, like this time last year I was bald, or I just started getting braids again. And I loved being bald. I loved it. I loved having, I don't know, it wasn't like, I was fully bald at some points, and then I had like a little bit of hair grown out, and I liked it when I had like a little bit of hair. It's just so easy. It was so manageable, and I just loved how convenient it was. And that was something I started growing my hair out for like aesthetic reasons, because I was going somewhere where I was going to be kind of on stage, and it was going to be in front of a lot of people, and my parents were like, you got to put some hair on your head. You got to get yourself presentable, right? So these kind of ideas around presentability, politics, around being a woman, and how do you get taken seriously? You kind of have to think about some level of like, attractiveness and desirability. You need to play into that, right? So that kind of took over then, and then I started, I had my braids, and then I remembered, because at that point I had been bald for maybe a year, if not more, because I had braids briefly in 2024, but I shaved my head. Oh no. Did I shave my head in 2023? God, I can't remember. Anyway, but I was shaved for like a good amount of time. And so I forgot what it was like to have hair and the sort of softer treatment you get from the world when you have that as a woman. So I fought for that, and I got, I cut my hair, and I still hair, and I bought a bunch of braiding hair the last time I was in Kenya, and I don't really have any plans of being bald again. And I lost a lot of weight. I lost 60 pounds last year. That was another thing. I was entirely motivated by aesthetics. What else have I done? I had never really gotten into makeup, but like I've engaged in many beauty practices, shaving my body. Like anytime I've ever done that, it's always been, this insecurity that I felt, and wanting to fix it and wanting to abide by the social norm. Because that's the thing, is that like makeup and these beauty practices and all of these things are the social norm. It is the social expectation of women, and it's also so ingrained in our adolescence, in the way that we raise girls, that I nanny, I've spent a lot of time with little girls, and what are they getting for their birthday? It's like gifts that have makeup a part of it, or have, they want to use mommy's makeup. They like watching mommy in the mirror, and that's what she does, and you want to be like mommy when you're a little girl. And it's so a part of the way that we raise girls. I remember being in middle school, a huge point of bonding between girls was sharing products, talking about this new launch, this new product's coming out. Oh, I'm asking this for my birthday or for Christmas from my parents to buy me this product or whatever, and I'm doing my makeup in the mirror before class, and it's a way to bond, it's a way to come together. Like, these beauty practices then end up becoming the lens in which women understand each other, women can feel connected to one another. This is such like, and then not to mention, it's a $1 billion if not $1 trillion industry that's selling women these products. Like, is a part of our economy depends on women engaging in these practices, and I feel like for all of that to sort of be flattened into like, no, I do this because of my personal choice. I do this, like, this has nothing to do with broader society. This has nothing to do with the culture in which I was born into. I'm like, we are, like, you think I'm an idiot. Oh, we all think we're stupid babies. Like, I'm like, what is going on? So I don't understand, because I never found it inherently, like, insulting to women to acknowledge that, like, society, for lack of a better word, plays a role in our decision to engage in these practices. Like, I didn't think that was, like, an insult to our confidence, or to our like dignity, as humans, to say that. And I think it's not until you talk about the really predatory ways that the beauty industry exists, it's not until you talk about how we coerce women into feeling not good enough, feeling uncomfortable in their bodies, and then selling the products to feel better about yourself. It's not until we talk about that we can like move towards any sort of productive outcome, which is why I hate the flattening of like, well, a woman made a choice, so it's feminist. Well, the beauty product says love yourself on the cover of it, on the box, so what's your problem? Okay, now we can have any discussion, and so I think that this is what I didn't like about a lot of empowerment content, is a lot of empowerment content is really centered on this idea of like, engage in these, and I, grew up with a lot of like, I feel like there's a big like kind of like self-love, a little bit of like a man-eater, like, right, kind of content that rose up. When did I start watching stuff like that? It might have been like 2023, circa 2023, somewhere around that time. And I'm not gonna name those women, but because they had a lot of good content, but like a big piece of that was that like you need to exercise love and care for yourself as a woman, and that's what makes you beautiful and desirable. And that a big part of that is engaging in beauty practices, where engaging in beauty practices not only was then like a way to exercise love and care for yourself, which kind of goes back to the desirability politics thing that I was saying earlier, right, where I was gonna get on a stage and talk in front of a bunch of people, and the idea is that like, the automatic assumption from every person that I told was like, of course you have respect for yourself, you want to show up and be respectable, so what are you gonna do? You're gonna make yourself prettier. And we have a very clear definition of what it means to look prettier as a woman, right? Which is also why, this whole argument of like, oh, like, I'm engaging in these beauty practices as like personal expression. Sure, of course, there's going to be examples of that, but it's like, how's it, individual expression when we're all trying to make ourselves look the same? Beside the point. this sort of like man-eater content, like I found some of it to be useful, but it was definitely like pushing this idea that like care for yourself is going to be a part of like making yourself look pretty, that's how you kind of signal to the world that you respect yourself, and that's how you, especially since a lot of this content was also oriented around like how do you attract a high value quote unquote man to you, and a lot of that was also like signaling to him that you're a high value woman, which is very much rooted in beauty practices. So I found myself to be the most mentally free in my relationship with beauty and my body when I stopped trying to be pretty. Self-care was never trying to lose weight that I didn't need to lose. Self-care was never like putting on a lot of makeup, or like just wearing clothes because they were trendy, or doing any, like none of that ever felt like self-care. Removing my body hair, that never felt like self-care. It never felt like self-care, because then I sat there and I said, like, I've literally only ever done this because of the marketing that we're under, that is, you know, given to us, because of the pressure that we put on women to never feel comfortable in your body. You have to like recognize that at the baseline, at the core root, the goal, if we kind of wanted to say it's like patriarchy v women, or, you know, male dominance over women v women, the goal is always for you as a woman to not feel comfortable in your body. That is the end goal. That is the explicit end goal. You can look at any period of time. We can go back, it's 2026, we can go back 10 or so years. We can go to 2016, we can go to the Kardashian Jenner explosion, and now everybody wants a BBL. The 2016 makeup was very different than the clean girl, you know, Hailey Bieber beauty we have right now. We're living in a very different time in that way. And so bodies and beauty operate on trends. They operate on trends, and that is proof that the point in these industries is not for you to look a specific way because we have decided that these specific traits are desirable. It's literally just, don't look like yourself. Don't look like you. Do not feel comfortable in your body. Whatever you do, please, for the love of all things good in the world, don't be happy with yourself. That's what it's about. And I've made the point. It's about, there's a part of body obsession, of beauty obsession, that's about demonstrating a certain level of, adherence to the hierarchy, to that you are going to give into, that men are dominant, that you are kind of proving that you are someone who's willing to be, that you're kind of give into that order, especially when we're talking about bodies and shrinking, because there's something symbolic there about, I'm going to take up less space so that this man can take up more space. There's a huge overlap. That's why when we talk about like black beauty standards versus white beauty standards, that we have like white affluent women who are with men who are like usually the breadwinners, who are kind of in the most like submissive stereotypical marriages. Those are the women who kind of popularize white girl skinny. Those are the ones that it's a running joke that these are the almond moms, right, that are really obsessed with becoming small, because they're demonstrating to these men through this adherence to, you know, shrinking their body as much as humanly possible, like, I'm okay with this order, I'm going to give into this order. There's that. And then, you know, we have black women who historically have not gotten married at the same rates, who are not in these marriages, especially with like provider men, quote unquote, in the same way. And then the black beauty standard is much more forgiving towards women's bodies. So that, you know, this desire to get women to kind of demonstrate their submission through their adherence to beauty practices is a big part of why we like put this pressure on women to do that. And broadly speaking, you know, you can't think about your liberation, you can't think about your freedom when you're hungry, when you're insecure. It's really hard when the thoughts that are placed into your head is to always think about how pretty and how attractive you are, right? I mean, I'm filming this video, and on the side I have like the camera looking back on me so I can see myself being recorded, and it's every time I look at the lens, it's easy for me to look at myself and like figure out whether or not the angle's looking good and how is my hair and how is whatever, which is obviously distracting me from my points. And it's this mechanism that's quite intentional, that you are always being distracted from like, how can I self-actualize? How can I contribute to my community? How can I take care of myself? Oh wait, this man did this to me and that feels really uncomfortable. Oh wait, I don't really like the fact that I have to do all of the labor in my home. Oh wait, this man wants me to do, you know, fulfill this sort of like intimate act and it makes me uncomfortable. Oh, all of these things are happening and I'm feeling this sense of discomfort. I can't pay attention to any of this because like, how do I look in my mirror? Because how do I look back? Am I even pretty enough to feel like I'm in the room, that I have any social cachet, right? Because also beauty is like kind of offered as currency to women, that the prettier you are, the more selective you get to be in who you allow around you, or the sort of treatment that you're allowed to insist upon. there's an intention, there's a great effort put into getting yourself to think very hard about your looks so that you're distracted from all these other questions. And I guess I don't know if I strayed from my original point too much, but the main thing I want to say is that this is all intentional, that this is all like it is all something that was sort of designed, not so explicitly, I'll say, but has been bought and sold and presented to women from the moment that we were born. And you know, even before you're born, your parents are having conversations about, oh, we're gonna have a pretty little girl, and you know, we can't wait for her to be a mom one day. Oh, I hope that my daughter, you know, inherits all of the, you know, mom's pretty features, or the grandma's pretty features, or whatever. The kind of language that we have around, you know, little girls, even when they're in utero, is just not the same. And so what I find to be really disheartening in some of these conversations is that we like act like it's wrong to say that, like it's wrong to like say, oh no, like women are very much coerced into body obsession, into beauty obsession, that's not women's fault, and that if we were to kind of sit here and present it as such, then we're I don't know, like we're disrespecting them, you know, which is like the thing that I find to be really frustrating whenever I try to have this conversation, which is why I'm probably gonna have to be having it more on here, but I can give my whole thought process, not on TikTok where you gotta be snappy with it. But yeah, that was like the main point that I wanted to make, and also why, like I said. And so I have to kind of figure out a way, I guess, because I am interested in being able to talk about like how I think you can like build a better sense of self as a woman. But I this is the politics that informs it. So it's hard for me to get on here and say, you know, buy eyeliner, but buy it in like a feministy way, you know, buy it in a self-love, and especially hard because I think like a lot of people, when I make this sort of content, come to me and are like, oh wait, so is it okay? Is it okay for me to shave? Is it okay for me to wear makeup? Is it okay for me to do this? And I'm like, even this like, you know, like approval seeking, this like, I need a permission slip from whoever has been like appointed the authority on this matter. You know, like it's one of the ways in which we like make women really, really not have any trust in themselves. So that's not what I'm seeking in making this kind of content. I just want these to be ideas floating in your mind about the way that we should think about beauty, about the way that we should think about our bodies. That's really it. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. I think my words per minute on this thing is gonna be crazy. I feel like I was just talking a lot, but I've had a lot on my chest. Anyway, bye guys.